I know that those of you who watch my videos already probably think I'm a right-wing extremist on some issues, and this one will really flip you out, but my new pet cause is that Jews need to start embracing gun ownership. My father, Alva Shalom, may he rest in peace, always used to say that if the Jews in Nazi Germany had guns, it wouldn't have probably stopped the Nazis, but it would have definitely slowed them down and been a whole different story. Now, why do I say this? I'm going to do a video next on an amazing couple of days I spent at the Christians United for Israel conference in Washington. But one of the things that really stuck with me was an Israeli colonel who was in charge of 20,000 soldiers who gave an intelligence briefing and talked about something we knew, but he just made it really dramatic, about how many Hizbollah terrorists have crossed the border from Mexico and have infiltrated into the United States and are lying in the weeds waiting. Now, lest you think it can't happen here, we've already had shootings at Jewish institutions and, of course, attempted bombings, let alone the huge bombing that's going to start coming from Iran once they get nuclear material, which they're going to have soon, because nobody's going to stop them, unfortunately. But think about Europe. If you've been to Europe, if you're a Jew, try to go to a synagogue, if you're not on the approved list, you can't get in. There are machine gun toting guards at the doors. Well, I don't think we're too far away from that here. And the way it can happen is they talked about the situation in Israel now as being a room full of ammunition with nicely placed candles everywhere and people coming in and out with a blowtorch. Anything could set it off. Right now, for example, as I'm taping this in July 2011, there are missiles flying from Gaza. Now, luckily, none of them have hit a school head-on. But if, God forbid, one of those missiles hits a school while it's occupied full of kindergartners, you can bet there'll be a war. And what if Hizbollah captures some more soldiers? And there's all kinds of scenarios that could happen where there would be a war. And let's say Israel has to do something about Iran. Well, Hezbollah's now got 60,000 missiles, some very long range, in Lebanon. Gaza's got tens of thousands of missiles now in Gaza. You don't think once those missiles start flying, after Israel does something to Iran, that the United States won't be drawn in, and that the Hezbollah terrorists in the United States won't be going into action? You may think that I'm a paranoid, crazy, delusional person, but mark my words, this is coming. And I believe that even though Jews think the NRA is like the enemy, just like Jews incorrectly and horribly think the evangelicals are the enemy, they're our best friends now on matters of Israel and survival and anti-Semitism. I think Jews have to think seriously about owning guns and getting trained. Now, I know the problem of that most gun problems occur in your own family with accidental discharges, and you're much more likely to hurt yourself or your loved ones than a terrorist or a criminal. But it's something to think about. I'll tell you a funny story. When I was in college, I went to college in Hyde Park in Chicago, and it's a neighborhood surrounded on three sides, except for the lake, by bad neighborhoods. We had a young fellow who lived in the neighborhood who was going to school with us, University of Chicago, who came to do an assessment of security of our apartment. It was on the first floor, and he said, everybody get a gun and keep it under your bed. Well, my parents had a fit, and they said, no guns. So we all slept with baseball bats and hatchets under our bed and put bars on the windows. It wasn't that bad. Never had any problems, but that's my kind of gun story. But I think Jews have to start thinking about this very seriously and about our institutions being protected. I mean, it's possible that we can't all afford armed guards at the doors of our synagogues on a regular basis. But when events start happening, we may have to, and in the meantime, think about what it means to have some protection. There's the police overextended. Who knows if they'll be able to get you when the situation arises. And I'll just close with one hair-raising story. Can't vouch for it personally, but I heard it from the person who spoke it, who said that there's a Canadian Muslim doctor under the protection of the Canadian mounted police who was from Egypt, and she was moving to Canada. And one day, the day before she left, she was visiting with a friend. Her friend was over at her house, and according to this speaker, two bearded guys showed up from Muslim Brotherhood, and they said to her, when you go to Canada, you should make sure you get a lot of Jewish clients and keeps their name and the addresses. She said, I'm not going to do that. Well, they slit the throat of her friend, said, oh, yes, you will. Your family, extended family is still here in Egypt. We know where they all live. So I'm not condemning all Arabs or all Muslims, but we have a problem, a serious one, and Jews need to take it seriously for our own protection. We have many friends in the United States, but this is a serious situation. And I don't know if owning guns is the correct answer. It's certainly not the only answer, but it's something to think about for self-protection. Maybe not right now, but as soon as we start seeing signs, and who knows, maybe there'll be a united, coordinated effort of Hizbollah to kill Jews in the United States. Can't take this stuff too seriously.